This is deep dish, right?
Yeah, well, let's get deep.
So I'm going deep on both sides.
Kirsten, the famous television superstar
Don't do
from the
that.
city.
Please don't.
Welcome to the platform. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, what y'all don't know is me and Kirsten talked for about 15 minutes on her short-term memory about how she don't remember going to Cumberland and growing up together and all of that good old stuff. So we trying to jog back her memory of us hanging out and being like family. You know what I'm saying?
I
Cousin.
know. Please don't. Okay, guys. I have a cousin named Jerome, and I haven't seen him in forever. So I'm sitting here talking to Jerome like, are you my cousin? That's terrible.
That is terrible.
If my cousin Jerome was watching this, hey, cousin.
It might be him. Maybe I'm with you. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm with you.
Right.
But how's life? How's things going for you?
Life is just so interesting, right? Because it's like sometimes we can try to plan and predict this life we want for ourselves, but sometimes certain things are not in our control, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I thought that I would be married with children, and a husband by now, have a couple of properties. That was the plan, but it doesn't always go like that. So it's like, I'm just living and learning, honestly, like throughout life.
Now, you from here, you from Nashville, and I always like having people, especially if like we went to school together and stuff, if they remember.
Two schools.
Two schools at that. What do you think about Nashville today? I'm gonna rephrase it. Like, talk about growing up in Nashville, just yourself and how that experience was for you, and then like fast forward to today, what Nashville looks like now compared to when we were growing up.
Oh yes, Nashville has definitely like transformed, within these last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
With both of us being a Nashville native, we have had the opportunity to watch all the new development, transpire. And so for us, Nashville was quiet. We didn't have a lot of tourists. It was just like we're living our everyday lives, doing the normals, going in and day out, going to school, doing our work, football games, like I said, majoring, all of that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, once we had that flood here in Nashville back in 2010, that's when everybody started to come and invest in Nashville. You see the skyline changing, you see 20 cranes, and I don't even feel like I'm exaggerating.
He might not be. He might be about that many.
Multiple cranes, right?
Cranes, for sure.
You see so many cranes in the sky, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, how is Nashville changing so rapidly? Like, who's coming in here? Who's investing all this money? And then that's when I was like, okay, like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, okay, this means a lot of real estate is coming, a lot of investors, there's a lot of money in the city. Like, let me see how I can educate myself and how I can educate others. How can I get involved? How can I make money? How can other people make money? Especially in our community, because sometimes we're not even exposed to certain routes. And sometimes we're not put in those positions to grow and like create that generational wealth. So for me, I was actually working downtown as a project manager before I obtained my real estate license. And so I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get licensed. Like, let me jump in here. Let me get a piece of the pie. Like, let me see what's going on. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to get my license. And I have my real estate license, and I've sold some homes, and I educated others like on the importance of becoming a homeowner, like what that means for your foundation, like your future family. And it's actually really exciting to watch people, like, oh my gosh, really? Like, you mean my home can appreciate? Like, you mean like this is what can happen, this is how I can leverage this house and get another house? And I'm like, yes, you can do all of that. And so it's all about someone teaching you that knowledge. And it's like, for me, I love to be enlightened by something new. Like, teach me, how to make my money work. So I definitely feel like the change has been interesting here in Nashville, especially with real estate. And like, I enjoy going to all the new restaurants, seeing all the seeing all the new condos, develop. I enjoy watching all of it. And sometimes in Nashville, I actually feel like a tourist in my own city. I'm like, oh, I'll send stuff to my friends. I'm like, let's try this place. Let's try this place. It's a new place coming here in Nashville. Like, let's try this new restaurant, or let's attend this event. Like, let's go here. And so I actually enjoy it, but sometimes I do look at it from a standpoint for people who aren't able to afford some housing. I'm like, okay, now I thought that this was helping the city, but now it's like not helping some people who can't afford, you know, a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 house. They're pricing out the locals. And so it's like, instead of those people being able to afford something in the city, they're having to move out to the outskirts. I'm like, well, that's, you know.
Yeah. Well, like being in real estate, like, how can developers and contractors and real estate agents, how do we mitigate that, right? Are the conversations being had how to still make Nashville affordable for those who grow up here, and like, what do you see your role being in that?
Oh, for sure. So conversations are definitely still being had about affordable housing. That's the number one thing that like all the councilmen and all the councilwomen are pushing for. It's a program called Hope. So they talk about the housing market all the time, and it is still some affordable housing out there. And sometimes when they build some of these developments, they have a certain percentage of housing that are affordable.
Right.
So it's like they may have 3 or 4 houses out of 20 homes that will be more on the affordable end. But it's like, if you don't know somebody who knows that, then you miss out.
Right.
And then also what happens is some people know it and they hop on it immediately. So if you're dragging your feet, you're going to miss out. You know, so those conversations are being had, and like it's still some affordable housing, but not as much in the city.
Right.
So
now, like, so I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know that you was on TV until like way after there, right? somebody was like, oh, do you know, it was somebody from out of town.
Oh, really?
Like, it was somebody that was watching it that doesn't live here. It's like, hey, do you know this girl from Nashville, like doing, you know, married the first time? I'm like, I don't watch that. Ain't nothing. That ain't no my. I don't even watch TV like that, but I definitely wouldn't be watching that. Like, who is it? Like, oh, that's Kirsten. I know, you know. And so I'm like, damn, I'm about to go with them and see what she talking about. See what is this about? Because you're from the city. I want to help the ratings or whatever I can, right? So one, just congratulations on all that. I hope that's, you know, been fruitful for you in as many ways as you have wanted to be fruitful for you. But we like, well, what is that process? Like, what was you surprised? Like, what made you want to be on TV, being so shy and everything and all that, as you claim? You know, and for people who don't know, like she a real deal dancer. Like, people, that was what she was known for you being shy and not want to be like center of attention. That like, I don't believe that.
I know.
She used to cut up, y'all. Y'all don't know. She was cutting up back
and I still got it. I still can't cut up.
Oh, you still got it?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Okay.
I graduated from Nashville School of the Arts, which is a performance school here in Nashville. So dance is definitely my heart. You know, I did jazz, ballet, modern, African, musical theater, majorette at Pearl-Cohn.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the Firebirds, PCH all day. But, I mean, honestly, when I was filling out the application for the show, I was like, I didn't know that they were going to select me in real life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? And it's like, for me, people don't understand sometimes, like, when I get a little shy, because I'm still like an outgoing person. So sometimes it goes and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I was scared. I was nervous. I knew it was millions of people around the world watching the show. Like, even you said somebody from out of town called you. And like, at first, I didn't even really know anything about the show. My family, one of my cousins and my best friend, they watched the show. And like, they know that I want to be married. They know that I want to have children. Like, they know that I want to be loved and, you know, love someone else and have that lifetime partner and just make memories. So they're like, hey, you should give this a thought. And I'm like, okay, I'll see how it goes. And then when they told me, when one of the experts came from the show and told me he had a match, I was like, oh my goodness. So like, the show is basically like a modern day arranged marriage. So what they do is they try to find somebody who is compatible, who they believe is compatible for that person and making for sure that that person has like all the qualities that somebody's looking for. And so it was definitely like stressful for me because I'm like, millions of people are going to be sitting here and I'm not the most vulnerable and sensitive person. So it was hard for me to show vulnerability and like to just process everything that was going on throughout the show, throughout the marriage. And I'm like, good Lord, this is also much.
So I gotta dig into this. This is not even something I typically talk about, but you're here, you're you, and we cousins now. You know?
Oh my gosh.
So look.
OMG. You are hilarious. I guess it's called deep dish, combo. So, oh goodness, let's get to the crust. That's what one of my friends said.
So, do you feel like for you to fill out an application on the show, did you feel like at that moment, like finding love, dating in Nashville, was it working out for you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely, because like both of us are from Nashville, so it's like typically we're always around the same people, same group, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I change my atmosphere, I'll have a better selection of men, to have interest in. But it's like here in Nashville, every time I go out, I always know everybody. Like at different events that I attend, they're like, oh hey Kirsten, I'm like, oh hey, or I'm familiar with the face, and we know of each other. So it is a little bit harder for me like to date here in Nashville because I'm like, oh, I need a new face. Like I don't want to see all these same people that I always see, or like sometimes I'm not interested in the people that I see. So I'm like, it is a little bit harder to date here, and that was one of my reasons, for giving the show a chance and completing the application and all the questions that I had to answer. I'm like, okay, we can see how this goes. Like, I didn't know they were going to select me. So I'm like, okay, let me just, fill out this application. It took me 3 days. It was like 300 questions. I did like 100 questions a day.
That's crazy.
I know, right? And then there was even more questions.
It's like a psych evaluation.
Well, that was mostly a questionnaire, like, what do you like to do? What are you interested in?
It's like evaluating your traits and seeing how you answer.
Yeah, we had a psych evaluation as well. So,
wow.
That's why I was like, that was mostly a questionnaire. Then we had a psych evaluation because the psych evaluation is more so how do you feel when this happens? What do you do when you feel like this? Like X, Y, and Z. But I would say it was definitely an interesting journey for sure. Like that was an experience for a lifetime. I'm like, oh my gosh, help me, Lord.
So what did you learn about yourself during that process? How long was the shooting? How long was that process?
We filmed from, I believe it was May all the way to October for one piece of it, and then from October all the way until this May of 2023.
Okay.
So almost a year, yeah.
So like, what did you learn about yourself, like about that process and how you responded to things, and like just going through that situation? I know you being filmed, so it's different at the same time too. But what did you learn about Kirsten that you probably didn't know before this experience?
I'm pretty well self-aware. Like, I'm so self-aware of myself, and I know it's always things that I could do better or communication. So it's like, it's a way to say something. Yeah. And sometimes I may not say anything because I don't know how that's going to affect the person, but I'm like, it is okay to be vulnerable. Like, it is okay to say what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Yeah. And sometimes I don't know how to, like, fully express myself. So I do struggle with vulnerability, and I'm like, it's okay. Like, just talk through things, because if you don't, then nobody can ever know what you're feeling and know how you're thinking. And it was difficult because it's like, he didn't know me, I didn't know him. We're filming on TV. So it's like, I don't want to say anything to offend him or make him look crazy. It's just a different experience, because it's like, I probably would have said more, like, had we not been filming and, you know, different things going on. But it's like, it's just that unfamiliar platform, like that unfamiliar territory, which makes things a little bit more difficult, because it's like, in the real world, you go out, you date somebody, you get to know them one day, and you start to feel more comfortable. With that, it took me a little bit longer to feel more comfortable. Like, towards the end, like towards the 5th or 6th week, I'm like, okay, like, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. I don't have to, like, hold back my feelings or what I'm thinking. So I'm like, you know, like it's okay. And I don't like for people to like judge me or try to like make their thoughts my thoughts. So that's just something that I struggle with. But like if I'm comfortable with a person, I'll let them know like, hey, I didn't like when you said it did this, or hey, this kind of bothered me, you know, when things didn't go as I thought that they would go. So vulnerability and communication was the most.
I would imagine that after being on TV, everybody, millions of people like are judging you, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Kirsten is like this, Kirsten is like this, she should have done this, she should have done that. Like, did you see all of that, or did you try to block any of that out, or did you just kind of like, let me look at these comments, let me what are people saying, or did you could you not avoid it?
Oh yeah, so my experience with that, like and it's so crazy because it's like people are always on Instagram talking about people having their own opinions.
Yeah.
And when I was seeing some of those comments, like I cried the second week.
Wow.
After seeing those comments, and I was like very anxious every Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I had to stop reading the comments, and then I had to like stop watching the show sometimes because I didn't want to relive some emotions that I went through. And I'm like, the entire world's watching this, so we had to watch it with the world. Like we didn't get to see this until it aired.
All right.
So
wow.
So that was
y'all didn't get an early preview. Is it y'all watching it
with everybody?
Wow.
So that was very nerve-wracking, right?
Wow.
And so like I would watch it with the cast. Sometimes we would all watch it together because it's like nobody can understand what we're going through but each other. So we kind of leaned on each other, and I'm glad that we still have that support system.
Yeah.
But like afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm me. I know who I am.
Yeah.
People are seeing 10 to 15 minutes of me. They don't know me, and I don't have time for the rude comments. You know what I'm saying? If you have something to say about me, pull up in Nashville, come see me. You know, like don't pull the east side out of me. Like please do not, because say what about who? Like absolutely not.
Yeah. Did anybody ever like in person like say, hey, I didn't like when you did this, or did anybody broach you in person, or was it all online?
It was mostly online, and it's so funny because after the entire show aired, people were able to have like more empathy, and like some people were able to put things in a real perspective. They're like, they don't know each other. They're on TV. Like, of course, people are going to have like a certain way that they, you know, converse. And so I'm like, thank you people for being so kind. Like at the end of the day, people were more kind towards the end than they were at the very beginning, because I'm like, who are y'all to judge somebody? Like this is insane. Like I don't ever go on Instagram and like judge people on TV shows or judge celebrities, like because we're all human. Nobody's perfect. Yeah, some people may be out there doing the craziest things, and sometimes it is a little bit comical, but I'm like, for me, I'm like, who sits there and talks about somebody like that? It's insane. Like, people are so invested though. And that's what happens. And like, some people are like, when they see me, like when I'm at Target or out and about, even when I was hosting some open houses, people would come in there and like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like they would want to talk about it. I'm like, I do not want to talk about it. I do not want to talk about that. Like y'all are trying to stress me out right now. The only thing I'm trying to do is sell this house and make some money. Like, do you want
help
this?
Me do that.
Help me do that. That's the best way you can help me right now. Do you know somebody who's interested? Because I need to make some money. Like, but yeah, it's interesting. And then some people are like, I love when I see people out and they speak positive over me. They're like, you know what? I'm sorry that it didn't work out. I wish it would have worked out for you guys, but I wish you the best. You are such an amazing woman. Like that uplifts me, and that's what makes me happy. And I'm like, okay, it is some kind people out there, you know, because that means a lot when you hear people say something like that.
Well, you know, like especially like me and Black in Nashville is an even smaller community, right? Oh yeah. And like so everybody, like even if you didn't really watch it or didn't catch a wind of it or heard it, like probably like me, like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like what was that reaction did you get back from like just people that you grew with, peers, your friends, family? Because they watching it for the first time too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What was that feedback from those people that you always knew growing up there?
A lot of people were very supportive. They're like, I'm just watching it because you're on it and because I know you. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that. And then sometimes people would say that to me. I'm like, oh, you are? I just automatically get nervous. I'm like, gosh, like, okay. And then like some people want to talk and text about it after every episode. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, please don't.
Because it's very, like, you went through a very unconventional
Oh, for sure.
process of marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So did they give you any, like, insight culturally on, like, cultures that do, like, have arranged marriages? Or just reflecting back on a woman being like, hey, like, some women are just giving away, even to this day in some countries, in some cultures. Did you ever think about that process or reflect on that in all, like, you know, being in this modern day where that's not really the case in our country, but, like, it happens in other places?
I definitely found it very interesting that I went through a process that was the modern day arranged marriage. I'm like, either it can work out. It's like a 50% chance. Either it can work out or either it won't. And it has been people that have came through the experience that are still married. They have children. So I'm like, okay, let me just look at it from that perspective. But then I feel like in other cultures, I don't know much about those arranged marriages, and I don't know the success rates of those arranged marriages, but I know that, like, the family has their children at their best interest, and it's the reason why they are arranging those marriages. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if it works out in other cultures, but we're gonna try it in our culture and see how it goes. But I know that it's a reason, you know, why everything happened. Like, everything happens for a reason. It's either it's a lesson or it's a blessing, right? It teaches you something or it just works out. And so. No, they asked me the same question. They literally asked me that same question. And guess what I said? No. The only reason why I said no, because it was just so stressful for me. Like, of course, if I'm going to date someone going forward, like, I prefer to date that person. Like, let's go on several dates. Let's get to know each other. Like, let's take every step that we need to in order to have a strong foundation, in order to see if everything aligns, in order to make that decision towards marriage. Because that's a huge decision to make in life. Like, even though, like, my marriage was such short-lived, I'm like, I can't believe, like, I just was still in shock about everything. I was like, I can't believe I'm allowing this to be my first marriage. Like, I didn't get to know this guy. At first, I was really sad about it. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go through with this. This is the decision I made. Like, I've been selected. Like, let's go through with it to see how it all works out. Because, like, of course, like, I wanted a man to drop down on one knee. Of course, I wanted to, you know, just have tears of joy when that moment happens and go dress shopping with my friends and, like, have the bridal shower with all of my friends and family. You know, the traditional way. Of course I wanted that. But I'm like, it's just life. It's life.
Fast forward to today. Has it became easier or harder for you to date? Now you're a public figure. Millions of people have seen you on television. Some men may want to approach you based on, hey, I'm trying to get a guy that was on TV. That's a clout move. And some guys may generally have seen you and say, man, I think we could be compatible. Like, has that made life easier or harder for you when it comes to dating at this point?
Well, for me, I feel like when it comes to dating, I haven't had those encounters.
Okay.
But if people are interested in pursuing me, I don't know if I feel like men deal with rejection differently. So I feel like, not saying that I would, like, just reject every single guy that approaches me. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that makes them nervous to approach me. And you see what I'm saying? And so I feel like when I go out in Nashville, I see people, familiar faces, people that I know, and not many people approach me and like, hey, can I take you on a date? And then sometimes if people do, I'm like, he's bold. Like,
is it like, bold? Is that what is it bold now? That's how we used to do it. Like, this, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Hey, would you be interested in going out?
Yeah. No, I would say that only about, like, some people. Like, some guys know, like, okay, like, this is a long shot, but I'm going to try. And I'm like, sir, like, I'm not going to date you. And it's like, I don't like
okay, look, hold on. Because I know I got some men out there that's trying to figure this out now.
Oh, my
How would Kirsten like to be approached? What's the best way for a guy to approach you?
Just the way you said,
Okay.
hey, how are you doing? You know, like just a general conversation.
Okay.
Just start off general
Okay.
and then like, you know, are you dating anyone? It would be great if you and I could go on a date. I would like to get to know you. Just that simple. I don't feel like it's rocket science, and I feel like a lot of men are just nervous to ask. And then also, like in this modern day and time, dating is just so much differently now because people have so many options. Like you can get on Instagram, you can DM somebody, you can see somebody at the bar, you can swipe on Tinder, get on Bumble. It's so many apps. So I'm like, that's also a whole different world.
You respond to the DMs?
I don't really check my DMs that much at all. So
DMs, fellas, the DMs ain't the way to go.
I mean, it's different because it's like if I did check my DMs and somebody was like, "Hey, Kirsten, you know, I feel like you have a great personality. I would like to get to know you more. Let's go grab coffee, or like let's go grab lunch or something, or breakfast, or let's go want to walk up to the park."
So I gotta ask you this: have you been seeing like the places that you shouldn't take a woman on the first date? Have you been keeping up with that? Because I ain't even interested in that, but it's been flooding. I'm like, let me look at this list, and it's like it's comical, but I think
it is because
it was like serious though. So.
It was like Applebee's or like
Cheesecake Factory. That's it. All started with cheesecake, and then it's just like, yeah, you don't take a woman on the first date to these places, and like it was like a whole this list, and so.
But it really honestly depends on the person's preference, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people expect so much, but it's like, can you provide that for yourself, or can you give that to the other person?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's just to each his own.
Right.
Because bowling can be fun, or like
I think that was on the list. Like,
yeah.
take me bowling on the first date.
Bowling can be fun.
Yeah.
Like going to miniature golf. It's like whatever or going golfing with the person, or going to a baseball game. It's like whatever. And that's, to me, an initial date should be like a sit down. Like, because you want to get to know what you have in common with the person. Like, if you guys like the movies, like, or if you like going to see plays, like those are all dates. If you want to go have a picnic in the park, if you want to go on a boat ride, it just really depends on the person. Like, it's so many dates that people can have. You can go painting. Like, it just really depends. Like, a date is a date. And it's all about, like, spending that time and connecting with one another. And I just feel like so many things have been, like, the traditions, the values, and the morals, like, everything has just been in chaos. It's like real ghetto out here in these streets, honestly. And so it's like, I don't have time for the ghetto, but it's nothing wrong with the Cheesecake Factory. If somebody like cheesecake, that might be the best date ever. You know what I'm saying? And the best conversation ever.
Have people come to you now that you went through this experience at Married at First Sight as like an expert on like relationships? like Kirsten, like you went through this whole show now. Like, can you consult with me on like what should like do you see yourself being asked more relationship type questions and people coming to you for advice?
That is so funny. I didn't have a successful marriage, so
that'd be the best advice.
Sometimes I didn't have a successful marriage, so my friends, like my close friends and family, we have conversations about relationships all the time, and we do lean on each other for advice. Like if somebody hits like a hardship in their relationship, like I'm always gonna be a supportive family member and friends, and I like to see like the situation from both perspectives so that I'm not biased, because you know how some friends like, girl, like don't take that, don't accept that. I'm like, no, tell me the full story. Tell me what both of y'all did so I can understand how to, you know, seek this situation out to the best advice that I can give. But me and my friends and family mostly like talk relationship, but not like to just random people. And no, they don't come to me asking me for advice. If anything, I need to go to them and say, how should I date this man? He is asking me on a date. This is what he did on the first date. This is what he did on the second one. So it's like I would ask like my married friends more so marital advice, because like a couple of my family and friends, they've been married for like 7 to 10 years, you know, and everything takes its course. Like life has its ups and its downs, its highs and its lows, and that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And so I definitely enjoy having conversations with them as far as like relationships and dating. But like right now, I'm not really dating anybody, mostly dating myself.
Yeah.
Am I open to dating someone? Yes. And then it just goes from like if that person is serious, because I don't want to date somebody who is just not looking for the same thing that I'm looking for in life. Like I don't want to date somebody like that. And that was another reason why I went on the show, because sometimes when people go on these shows, they are looking for commitment. And right now, a lot of people are looking for entertainment. And I don't have time to entertain somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like that's wasting my time. Like I'm getting old, my eggs are getting old. Like I don't have any more time to waste. I need somebody who wants to be serious, who's leaning towards a future. And because it's like when you're a woman, you only have a certain amount of time to produce a certain amount of children. And with me being 33 and I'll be 34 in 2 months, I'm like, time is ticking. Time is ticking. So I can't like entertain nonsense. You know? And it's like so many men think that it's just okay to just go with the flow and have situationships and just be out here living life. No. If you want to do that, go do that on your own time.
Well, I think too, it's like because our men's clock tick longer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
for sure.
Like, so we have,
to 50, 60.
And so we have this, you know, we have
and
this,
that's fine.
you know, and so we can play around a little longer.
Y'all
we can waste time a little longer. And, you know, and it, you know, I think that's what most of us do a lot of times. Unless, you know, but there's also many of us who all want to get committed in a very young age, 20s, 30s, and really get into some things. And so
that's another thing too that I would say in different cultures. Like I feel like in our culture, I don't think people understand how successful people can be together, how much you can build together. And it's like you can get like so much further ahead in life if you work together as a team. And so it's like when people know that, that'll change the game. Like when people know to like pour into their husband and wife, pour into their businesses, like saving and properly managing their finances. Like when people get the grasp of how successful you can be as partners, maybe that'll change the trajectory of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think too, even more specifically in the Black community, I think we're struggling with that. Like, power dynamic, especially economically. I hear many of my Black women that I know talking about the hardships of like when I'm the breadwinner, like, you know, working these hours and maybe I can't be the quote unquote traditional stay-at-home mom, wife that I want to be myself, but I have like this professional career and I'm making more money, so therefore like it's been harder to find men that kind of fit in that or being open-minded or understanding of the dynamic. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something you wrestle with yourself or just thought about in general when it comes to relationships?
Well, I definitely take that into consideration when it comes to relationships. And for me, I feel like people just need to be able to focus on what works best for their relationship, regardless of who the breadwinner is. Like once it goes back again to working together as a team, like knowing each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses and how one person is better, you know, at managing the money and how one person may be better at managing the household. Like it doesn't have to be a gender role type of situation. Do what works for your household, regardless of who's making the most money. Like if somebody needs to do these dishes while the other person's taking care of the kids, do it. You know what I'm saying? If somebody needs to do the laundry while the other person is out working, do it, or pay somebody to do it. Like I feel like so many people just have their priorities in the wrong place and they focus on the wrong things. And it's like when you focus on wanting to grow and wanting to be successful, you'll have a different outlook. Like you said, your mind will be more open. You'll be more open to doing different things around the house to make not only making the household better, but it makes the relationship better, because nobody wants to carry a full load all the time. Like people get tired men and women get tired of trying to carry their family on their back and feeling like they don't have that help and support. And I feel like that's what happens in a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
And I feel like with me, I'm a very flexible person. So it's like, and I'm a very understanding person. It may take a while to reach that level because it is a certain level of understanding that you have to have with your partner. It is conversations that you have to have to where you both know how to be on the same page with one another. So I definitely feel like when people master that, and that's why sometimes relationships last as long as they last because they have that line of communication.
Yeah.
Like, babe, I'm gonna pick up the kids today. I know you gotta work late. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pitch in on that. Or, babe, you know what? I'm gonna grab us some dinner today. I know you're tired. Like, it's just all about showing that love and showing that grace for one another. And that's what it really takes to have a successful relationship. It's like loyalty, grace, love, patience, being understanding, like allowing people to have their space sometimes, allowing people to have their moments, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like when people understand that, like, it just be so much more better.
Yeah.
Because it's like people, like I said, people get caught up on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And like people just have to be invested in themselves and each other and in their family.
Right.
Because it's like when you have distractions, of course things are going to be dysfunctional because you focus on something else that's not even of importance.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what like blows me sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, let's worry about the priorities.
And
But-
so, what's new and next for you? Like you told me you worked on yourself, personal growth, you dating yourself. What does that look like, and like what can we expect to be coming down just from you in general? Like, what's happening?
Well, right now I'm just working on some things and furthering my education, and I don't want to talk about that much because it is definitely stressful. So we shall see how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see how it goes the rest of this year. This year is coming to an end, so I have a couple more weeks to see how it's going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, what made me want to further my education? So we're gonna see how that goes. But I'm still doing real estate. Like, I haven't focused on it just as much as I should this year because of like the show and like trying to get my life back on track. And I traveled a little bit. I went to Hawaii and Toronto. I want to go to one more place the end of this year, but I'll probably wait till next year.
Okay.
But I definitely want to travel more next year, and I definitely do want to start dating. But I just also feel a little nervous about dating because I do know that you just have to take a chance on it.
Yeah.
And I guess I do have to start just like positioning myself in different areas. I have been going to some meetings, like I went to the Nashville Black Chamber meeting. I went to one of those, and I volunteered at a couple of things. So I'm like, you know, eventually dating will work out for me.
Yeah.
That man, he'll find me. We'll run into each other, even if it's volunteering at like the St. Jude run or something. I don't know.
Now look, Kirsten, short-term memory now. You might have to run into it a couple times because I'm telling you, you might not remember it after the first time.
My mom tells me all the time, she's like, Kirsten, you have selective memory. I'm like, do I? You don't say.
You do.
I really do. And it's like, it has to be something like very significant, or it has to be like something that is, that just makes me like a big memory.
Yeah.
Like something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And it has to be kind of like one of those moments, like a magical moment almost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll have to run into me a couple of times, and I'm like,
Make it magical.
Make it magical. I like that.
Make it magical.
Make it magical. Yeah, it has to be a moment that I just remember. Like, it has to be something about that moment. Like, oh, okay, that's right. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see, like, what life brings. I'm just sitting here and thinking about certain things, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna try to plan my life.
Yeah.
I know what I want. I'm gonna do what I need to do and be at the places where I need to be. Properly position myself, and I feel like things will eventually align.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, I've appreciated this time and getting reacquainted.
I won't forget this, Jerome.
I'm telling you, if y'all only knew the backfoot drop, this would blow y'all mind. But we ain't gonna bore y'all with that. But I'm still mind blowing. Wait till I tell my dad. I can't.
Oh my gosh.
But look, I appreciate your time and you're more than welcome anytime to come back on the platform.
Oh, for sure.
And whatever I can do to help you build, to support you, especially, just let me know.
I definitely will.
We made this moment magical.
Yes.
So we can't forget it.
Yes, moments in time. This is a good memory. I'll remember the mural. I'll remember the sun, deep dish conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to forget this.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you for having me today. And we definitely had a good conversation. We talked about life, dating, real estate, the community.
And I want to encourage you to do more talking.
Okay.
Because I think, because you went through a very unconventional, unique experience, that you have some insight and just personal growth that if you don't go through that, just like any other experience, it's like you can just speak to things differently. And I think people really appreciate that, would appreciate that, and will appreciate that coming from you. So I think it should be more opportunities like this that you should take advantage of. They come across your table. And yeah, I would like to see that.
Of course, yeah. I mean, when people reach out to me, I'm more than happy, to come and talk. Sometimes I do like, having conversations. Once I start to get more comfortable, I'm like, okay, I get the flow. I'm feeling it. Like, we're having a great conversation. Things are just like rolling.
And then, ain't nobody trying. I'm not trying to get a viral moment from you. But, I guess you got to sometimes be cautious too because you are on a television show and, people are trying to maybe capture something that's going to, be a clickbait type of thing. So but that's not what we do here.
That's right.
Trying to get to the real source, integrity, the meat, just
absolutely.
Get reacquainted, cousin.
Stop.
All right,